Happy Cyber Monday. Welcome back to The Edge. If you're an online retailer, then today is the day to get those sales, and you're probably cranking out the ad spend to get that golden conversion. Hopefully, you've played in the marketplace with your digital marketing tactics as well. So we're actually talking about online sales stats for the entire season, as well as advertising in the marketplace on Amazon, Walmart, and many others today on The Edge.
Your weekly digital marketing trends with industry trend-setting guests. You're listening and watching Edge of the Web. Winners of Best Podcast from the Content Marketing Institute for 2017. Hear and see more at edgeofthewebradio.com. Now, here's your host, Aaron Sparks.
All right, so hey, welcome back to Edge of the Web Radio, episode 335. I'm your host, Aaron Sparks. Every week we bring you all the latest trending topics in digital marketing, as well as talking to influencers, fantastic guests, influencers in the digital marketing space from around the planet. Be sure to check out all of the recent shows over at edgeofthewebradio.com. That's edgeofthewebradio.com. We're pushing through podcasts, videocasts, and much more. So if there's something that you missed from the show, and I know we go through a lot, jump over to edgeofthewebradio.com. So if you are new to the show, welcome. Here's the ropes. We kind of walk you through some of the things. Each week we actually start our show live cast on YouTube at youtube.com/edge of the web. You can find all of our podcasts over at iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spreaker, iHeartMedia, Spotify, TuneIn, a mess of others. But you can also find all the show material over at the site, edgeofthewebradio.com. You have show notes, all the links of the show, all the news items of the show, as well as all the transcripts of the show. So it's a cornucopia of content. So you want to jump over there, make sure that you find out everything that we were talking about in the previous show. So the show is actually brought to you by the title sponsor of the show, Site Strategics. They're the pioneers in agile digital marketing. Their core specialties are SEO, SEM, social media marketing and management, conversion rate optimization, as well as omni-channel media marketing. So if you're interested in what they can do for you, we certainly have a free hour consultation on Skype, Zoom, whatever you. Hey, we'll unpack some digital tactics that you can take to the bank immediately. So give us a call at 877 SEO for web or 877-736-4932. In the booth, I'm going to introduce Jacob as well as Allie. She's not even going to jump in there, is she?
I don't know. She's going to come on over.
See, I told you. I'll throw you a curveball.
There you go.
Got to get another mic in there.
Yeah, well, we can do that.
So happy Cyber Monday to you.
No, I managed to not buy anything yet.
Oh, yeah?
I'm very proud of myself for that.
The day is not over.
Well,
sir.
I know, but I've got too much to do tonight. I'm gonna get through it, not buy a thing today.
Oh my gosh, how can you do that? I mean, it's now a cultural thing to buy something on Cyber Monday. Come on.
I know, but I think there's enough other things out there. I don't know. The deals I'm seeing just aren't where I want them to be. I've seen a few. There are things that I was looking forward to today, and they just weren't. I don't know.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving okay for you?
Yeah, doing well. Just long weekend.
Oh my gosh, you better believe it. And the tryptophan has not worn off yet. I'm still in that turkey fugue.
Yes, exactly.
Well, you know what? What was not in a fugue was it finally did happen, folks. We had a live SEO audit with Andy Drinkwater right before the holidays. We picked up a site, a particularly juicy site, and we had at it. We carved it up into piles of canonicalization issues with a helping of duplicate content and served it up on a tray of site structure problems that would make an org chart cringe. So we had fun doing it. We certainly appreciate Andy's participation. And hey, you know what? We geeked out, and we certainly would like you to jump over to that show and check it out, especially the video side of things, because we did do a lot of screen share during that. So you can go over to youtube.com/edge of the web and check that out. Hey, who knows? We may actually do another one in the upcoming months. Some Edge notes, some housekeeping of the upcoming guests this year. Talia Wolf will be on the show December 9th. Robert Rose is going to be on the 16th. Hopefully we got Kim Scott on the 23rd, but I think we're doing a pre-record on that one. Hopefully we got that locked in. If not, then we'll bring you a special surprise guest. So all your reminders on YouTube so you can get notifications of when we go live, and we usually are dropping our podcast the day after our live event. So, hey, let us know what you think of how we're doing with the show, and you can also join our newsletter if you want to. You can just text with the number 22828, the word Edge Talk, and be able to sign up right there. Let us know and follow along with our shows on a regular basis. All right, that's the show housekeeping. Let's get to the digital marketing news of the week.
Hey, you want to hear some great news?
This week's trending topics.
All right, so let's introduce our very patient guest. Elizabeth Marsten is on the line with us. Elizabeth, how are you doing today?
Every Monday.
That's a happy Cyber Monday to you. I mean, it should be a regular greeting, you know? At least for the advertisers in the biz.
I was going to say, for those of us in e-com, it's a big day.
This is a big day. To introduce you to our audience, Elizabeth is the Senior Director, Strategic Marketplace Services over at Tenuity. She also has been a speaker at MozCon, SMS Advanced, East and West, PPC HeroCon, DFW, SEM, Marketing Pros University, B2B, and PPC Masters, to name a few. So you're certainly in acclaim there, Elizabeth, and thanks for joining us at the end of the year.
Thanks for having me. It's I know it's a crazy busy time of the year, so I'm hoping that folks are able to replay this later.
Absolutely. I do think that if you don't have your digital marketing game on today, is probably not the day you're going to actually roll out some of these tactics, but you certainly want to learn from them. Elizabeth, you're not a newcomer to the show. You were on the show back in August of last year, so thanks for the return.
Thanks for having me, and I am far less pregnant this time, so that's good.
We appreciate that. That's a requirement we always have.
Yeah, I think the baby came out a week after I talked to you.
Yeah. We were waiting with bated breath because we didn't know if we were going to have that show.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations, and I hope you have a fantastic, healthy child.
I do. Oh, he's very healthy. He's 27 pounds healthy, so thank you.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, and on top of that, you let us know your name before we went online. So let our audience know what you named him.
Magnus.
That is like probably the strongest name I've ever heard in my life.
We had a debate on do you give the kid a really big name and say live up to it, or do you give him something a little more attainable? And we said, you know what, you rise to the occasion. So, Magnus it is.
The bar is literally 15 stories high. Come on.
He'll get there.
And then they're naming hurricanes after them, or at least pretty strong storms now, right?
Winter storms. I think there's a winter storm Magnus out there somewhere, thanks to the Weather Channel.
Well, hey, this is not your first rodeo with the show, and you know that we go through some news items each and every show, so are you ready to roll with us?
That's it.
All right, let's go through some digital marketing news. Oh, we did, didn't we? So welcome to Site Strategic's Digital Marketing News Desk. This is the bonus news podcast and video for Edge of the Web Radio. I'm your host, Aaron Sparks, and we have on the news with us at the news desk Elizabeth Marsten, Senior Director, Strategic Market Services at Tenuity. So let's take a look at our first article. Check this out. We've been actually really excited about this one. Over at Search Engine Journal from Matt Southern, suggested services are now customizable in Google My Business. The service-based business owners can actually now customize a list of suggested services on their Google My Business listing. Google will actually automatically select and list services, but users can make additions and edits to those. So it was pretty important that you need to check out to see if you've had some automatic services assigned to your GMB. Sign into GMB, open the location that you like to manage, and from the menu, click Info, and in the Services section, click Edit, and then you can actually add your services. So they had a screenshot there of, actually there was no screenshot in this one, but cool thing is that we're getting more and more articulated in the display of information, and that Google My Business real estate is getting more and more valuable. Elizabeth, what are your thoughts on the GMB performance and what they're doing from an investment of time and work?
This is awesome, more than anything else, because when I look at most local business websites, whether or not they're franchise or some crazy ass, UI or something that they use, some of them started back in like 2007. And so they're awful to update and they're awful to or upkeep, or they can't get transitioned out because some vendor locked them in for lifetime and kept their content. So this is fantastic that they're able to go in there and just say, there's certain things we just don't do anymore. Can you imagine if you were like a computer repair place and you had, I don't know, like CD-ROM repair listed and you couldn't get rid of it?
I think those aren't those AOL cup holders?
I don't know, but think about like what that does to the credibility of your business too, to have that kind of stuff on there. So being able to put this in the control of those individual guys so that they can go do what they do best, which is probably not web marketing, it's probably plumbing, is awesome.
No, it really is. I'm still waiting for the opportunity, and we're starting to see the lead form call to actions on the GMB starting to be tested out in more and more areas. I'm hoping that they're going to give us the control to actually send that lead form click through to our own properties as opposed to keeping it through the lead generation funnels at Google. I have that particular bone to pick because that's kind of a bridge too far, I guess, in my assessment. But hey, at the end of the day, a lead's a lead, right?
Yep.
All right, so at the end of the day, you probably want to hold on to your text messages as well. From TechCrunch, Zach Whitaker leads us with a gigantic database of text messages have been exposed. True Dialogue, a company that processes two-way text messaging for businesses and higher education providers, had millions of messages exposed, many of which contained highly sensitive data of customers and students. Oh my gosh! I mean, in today's privacy challenges, my gosh, how in the world can you let this happen? The database stored years of sent and received text messages from its customers and that were processed by True Dialogue, but because the database was left unprotected on the internet without a password, none of the data was encrypted and anyone could look inside. What do you say about that, Elizabeth?
Really? It's just like, really? I mean, you couldn't even put a password up that's password. I mean, that's like, it's... I saw this, and the number one thing that concerned me more than anything else is the lack of response from the company on what they're doing about it and how they're going to fix it. Because folks need to know if their stuff was in there, they just need to be advised, essentially, that it's out there.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't know what else to say, in that respect. This shouldn't be the case at all when we're coming down to these type of era. I mean, privacy is the essential coin of the realm for your consumers, and if something like that just falls out of the back of the truck and nobody's even paying attention to it, that's going to spell doom for the brand there. Last point that we want to bring up here, last article, 15 eye-popping online shopping stats for 2019 from CMO Adobe. Online shopping continues to grow with more people doing it. Rising sales and bigger orders. Growth is especially strong for companies with a serious customer-centric approach. So, Elizabeth, I'm going to let you take a swing at a couple of these points before we go any further. What did you see that kind of parallels with some of the strategies that you provide?
So a lot of it has to do with, that movement to, we're talking a little bit about mobile, like people, we've seen in the last few years that mobile phones have become, we've seen traffic pick up on Thanksgiving, but also Black Friday. But hey, no surprise, no one wants to go stand in line at 6 a.m. in a Walmart with 300 other people when they could just order it online on their phone. And then same with Thanksgiving, we've seen traffic start to increase over the years as folks, wind down. If you have dinner at 3:00 and it's 6 and you're, kind of done talking to Aunt Martha, yeah, you're gonna start shopping and or declining eye contact with some folks, depending on how the night is degraded. So yeah, it makes total sense. And of course, one of the biggest stats is that whole Amazon has 50% of e-commerce. Yeah, probably to some degree. I've seen anywhere between as low as 48 and as high as 50. And fact of the matter is, they made it easy.
That is crazy stats. I mean, but you're absolutely right. They invested in the infrastructure. They invested that into the entire comfort zone for the consumer, right?
Store traffic, I think, was another big one that was down. That makes total sense. I mean, personally, I did go to one store. It was nothing like it's been in previous years. I mean, the primary driver for why you would go at 7 a.m. for me was because I have 2 kids under the age of 4. That is the only time that I can go. They're still asleep, and I get something done. Totally. It wasn't for the sales, and then they extended the sales. So a lot of these stores have stopped doing, before you got to get by 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. It's like all day, or until stock runs out. So the only real urgency is because they're going to run out, and whatever the thing it is that you want, they've only got 4 of.
Right, but
Otherwise,
they're also giving you access to other stores' inventory as well, right?
exactly. Or buy online, pick up in store. Huge. I think, what is it? One note I saw this morning was like jumped 43% since last year, just for, I mean, it's huge. I mean, if you look at, for example, Walmart's quarterly earnings for this last quarter, they were talking about I think it was like 38 or 40% of e-commerce growth, but primarily a lot of that is being driven by grocery, that buy online, pick up in store. It makes a ton of sense. And they have an entire ad campaign to back it up. With the DeLorean and the mystery machine and, whatever else. You don't even have to go in the store anymore.
So we should all just work from home and just send out. We'll have drones come in. I mean, honestly, that's where we're going. What was really interesting to me in this entire list was point 9. They said 63% of consumers say that email is the most effective tool to get them to shop at a particular retailer, but traditional broadcast media, 46%, direct mail, 38%, and print ads, 32% still pack a punch. So, I mean, 63% right there is fantastic, looking at email as the prime motivator. But hey, you can't ignore the conventional, traditional media route.
No, and it makes it so email done right is extremely powerful, especially if you curate good lists year over year. So, for example, I buy a lot of the same things over and over again. There's a case of dog jerky that I buy every year, and every year they email me and remind me, and I go, yes, I need that again. And I just 3 clicks later, and I'm done. So that willingness to, that personalization piece, plus that curation of content, like this is new, these are things that you've shown interest in before, unsubscribes, like how you re-engage those folks. Tenuity has an entire email division for this, and they speak a lot about that quality and that reach that you can still very much do.
It really is trusting the environment that the new media audience is just fully adopting, and you still have conventional branding points out there, but it's ease. It's don't hide the cheese from a conversion standpoint. And if you're gonna play in the market, you got to play in the marketplace. And that's why we reached out to Elizabeth. So we're gonna dive into that. That's the news for the day. We certainly want to thank HRES for the continued sponsorship of Edge of the Web Radio. HRES makes competitive analysis very, very easy. Their tools show you how competitors are getting traffic from Google and why. You can see the pages, the content, and the keywords that they're ranking for, and then put together the strategy to go push them out of the way. So if you're not getting significant traffic, Ahrefs tools also help you find topics worth creating pages and content on. So it's a very useful tool all the way through. If you want to jump in, you can get a free trial today. Just go over to ahrefs.com. You'll swim in great data just like we do over its site. So that's a wrap for the news today. We certainly, again, wish you a great Cyber Monday. We're going to meet now this week's industry's guest.
Now it's time for Edge of the Web featured interview with Elizabeth Marsten, Senior Director of Strategic Marketplace Services at Tutuni.
Yeah, we got the cool speaker effect on the Beat Boy today. Well, we certainly want to introduce again Elizabeth. For those of you who are just joining our podcast, welcome back. We've actually had you on the show back in August, Elizabeth. You are the Senior Director of Strategic Marketplace Services through Tenuity. See, I did it. Tenuity. Oh my gosh, there it is. So
my first 2 weeks I spelled it wrong. It took me a little while.
The trick is continuity,
ingenuity, and acuity.
All the atuities. All right. So if you haven't seen or listened to Elizabeth, shame on you. She's been a speaker at MOSCON, Advanced or SMS Advanced, East and West, PPC Hero, Marketing Profs, University B2B, PPC Masters, all the PPC stuff. And she was on the show a year and some change ago talking. So we did some deep diving in PPC as well as Google Express ads and Google Shopping, if memory recalls. Or if I recall. But you know what? You've shifted and you've gone deep into marketplace advertising.
Yeah. So it was kind of sneaking around in the background for the last 3 or 4 years of my career, but it's made obviously as I joined Tenuity come to the forefront.
Well, that's fantastic, and this is I don't want to say the new gold rush, but this is a huge evolving environment. You specialize in Amazon and Walmart advertising, so how's your day going today? Is it pretty busy?
It's insane. But the thing is with particularly with like Amazon, the big thing is a lot of prep has already happened. Mm-hmm. So we're talking 4 and 5 weeks out where budgets are set, assortment is set, like how that's going to go. And these are folks that have been selling these are folks that have already been selling on the marketplace. So that retail readiness is there. Mm-hmm. The one that's a little bit I would say still in the test phase is Walmart.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, the product was they have, I mean, you can go to Walmart advertising if you're a current third party, you can apply for it. It's there. It's publicly known that Triad Media managed Walmart's advertising for about 13 years. Mm-hmm, and then we're said, last summer they said, thanks, we're done. Walmart's taken it all in-house, and they've been building an entire service line from that.
Wow. No, yeah. So we certainly want to unpack that. But first and foremost, we want to, for the listeners who don't know, you tell us your backstory, how you got all the way through the PPC to the marketplace advertising. And in 2 minutes, go.
So it was really weird as I started out interviewing as an office manager in 2006. I thought I was interviewing for paperclip marketing after I didn't get that office manager position. That is a true story. I had to Google it. I did not know what it was. But goes to show you that anybody can learn this. So I came in, learned paid search at Porton, which is a small internet marketing agency in Seattle. We did all of the things. So I picked up paid search, SEO, content, analytics, web dev, and I want to say SEO. Went up to VP of Search. Then I went over to Commerce Hub, where we were doing product or catalog feed management. Mm-hmm. That is also where we did retail, dropship, and that is where I got started on the marketplaces side because we had a marketplaces team and division, kind of following along what they were doing. I was director of paid search. My EVP at the time said, "You should learn marketplaces," and I said, "Fine, I will." I would say is that I don't have that depth of expertise in the accounts and in that management level that I used to have. So like for paid search, when you first start out, and
right,
you're literally in there smashing around. I haven't had to do as much of that, which is I'm okay with. But as a result, I understand pretty broadly on how Amazon works, how it doesn't work, how it works with other channels, understanding like what is important and what isn't. And then in this last year, started working on Google Express. So I launched the business lines for Google Express, Facebook Marketplace. And then this year at Tenuity, I'm working on the Walmart advertising offering and starting to poke into retailer advertising.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. And
going everywhere.
Yeah, you are. But I mean, in that space, I mean, you're really conquering, landmass after landmass.
Well, and it's all e-com. And I think that's one of the biggest things that folks need to keep in mind is think about it less about channels and platforms and thinking about it like, where's the person and you want to sell them the thing, right? So why make it hard?
And that's the core difference here is that instead of outreach and pursuit, you're positioning based on those needs that are already being expressed, and they're trusting that environment more and more. We talked about it in the news, but that digital native is truly growing to trust so much that, I mean, we got some stats here that are going to blow your mind. Let's go through them a bit here, just on the concept of Black Friday and Cyber Monday year over year. Black Friday, the U.S. spent $7.4 billion on online retail for Black Friday in 2019, raising the year-on-year digital growth for the period to 43%. That number doesn't exist in economics regularly, does it?
No. And, what's interesting, though, is there's a downside to it is that we look at those big, big, big numbers and we think that it's replicatable. So that's one of the challenges that I'm having now with getting Walmart advertising going is folks just think they can just take what they're doing on Amazon and flip it over and it's going to work and it's going to work on any marketplace. And that's not how that works. There is a pretty definitive overlap, though, between the two core customers. Mm-hmm. So I work a lot with Cleveland Research, and I ask them, tell me more. Tell me more about who uses Walmart versus who uses Amazon. So what they did find is that in one of their surveys, 57% of respondents shop that shop at Amazon also shop on Walmart, and 91% that also shop on Walmart also shop on Amazon. So there is definitely that Venn diagram is larger than what you might think.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you going to be seeing? Are you anticipating that that's going to even out a bit as you are witnessing the Walmart evolution?
Yeah, and part of it has to do with the way that Walmart is approaching the convenience to that buy online, pick up in store. The number one thing that people forget when they compare Amazon and Walmart is Walmart has stores. They have so many stores, like 4,000. And I think it's 90% or something like that of people in the US live within 5 miles of a Walmart. It's that reach alone. And that should be their differentiator. That should be something that they concentrate on. And that $1 billion investment that Mark Laurie talked about earlier this year that Walmart has made in e-commerce, eventually that comes out somewhere. The market was like, oh, he lost $1 billion. I was like, I don't think he lost it. I know where it went. I think he knows exactly where it went. The question will be, will we see it back? And when will we see it back?
So there's an investment in infrastructure there that is certainly going to show up.
And it takes a while, so we also forget that Target's first web store was actually on Amazon. So in 2010, is when they left the platform. So I think it was like 2001 or something. They started on Amazon having an assortment there, and Target in 2010 said, you know what, we're going to have our own website. And the market laughed at them for it, and the stock went down, and it was hard. They lost probably a literal $1 billion in that transition. But when you look at them now, I think it was the right call. It just takes a while.
Well, you fast forward, because I remember the .com days, and you lose that that type of money, and you just don't come back. So that just demonstrates the maturity of the environment and the acceptance from the consumer that they'll even forgive some bobbles here or there because they know where you're going. And that, again, that new media, that digital native now is getting younger and younger and older. So there's a much larger acceptance of transactions. Conversion rates, I don't even have a stat on conversion rates for this year, but I know there's a huge trajectory of the mobile devices that are, I mean, you said before the show, we've been in Mobilegeddon for like 6 years now, and it keeps on going, is that commerce level at that personal private device, right, is unbeatable from a level of intimacy as well as knowledge that you can put all your lists together, and it's almost that concierge realm that the Amazon's been able to conquer. So Walmart's got to catch up to that game.
And it's interesting too, is they also have a brand, I think, image to work with. So I've noticed that in their e-com advertisements, in particular around the public, like there's a different kind of demographic they're appealing to. Their buy online, pick up in store is huge. Not even pick up in store, you can pick it up in the parking lot. You don't even have to go in the store. Talk about fighting brand perception. Look, you don't even have to go in the store. We'll just bring it to you.
But wait a minute, then we can't go people watch at Walmart if we're picking it up in the parking lot. Come on.
I think they want to go away with. I think they want to get away from that, just a little.
Just a little bit. All right.
But then I think about like Target, right? So think about their brand perception and how, like, it helps a lot. Let's put it that way. As far as like that, when that retailer says, "Hey, trust us, we totally know what we're doing." You look at the historical context and you go, yeah, all right.
I'll give you a little bit of time there. So Cyber Monday, specifically online shopping, I mean, it has actually just exploded. Last year, Cyber Monday broke online sales records with a total of $7.9 billion in sales, making it the biggest online shopping day of all time in the U.S. Spending increased 19% on the previous year. We're seeing the stats are actually coming in very, very quickly. We're seeing even higher numbers of growth, right?
And it makes total sense. I mean, when you think about the innovations just even in the last year too. Yeah. So when we were talking about Google Shopping in the last August, and back then Google Express, why did they do that? Why did they exist? Why the rebrand? And it's confusing because it's called Google Shopping, but we kind of already had Google Shopping, but did we really? So what I try to liken it to is strip away just all the crap and think about it this way. They're just trying to make it easy for you to buy the thing. So if you can just buy the thing within your phone, within your desktop or whatever, stored wallet, 3 clicks, you don't have to fill in a bunch of forms. I mean, that's it. And it makes total sense in terms of like Cyber Monday. They're encouraging you to buy online. So the more friction that gets removed, the more likely you are to do those impulse buys.
That's right. All right. For our audience, give us that illustrate a little bit deeper of removing friction. Give me an idea of some examples that would play out in the regular online marketplace or the regular online transaction compared to the marketplace.
So regular online transaction, right? You've got these websites. I've had customers that have come and said, hey, we've got this site, we're totally replatforming, but it's going to take 2 years. And then you ask them what it is that they're currently using, and it takes them 6 weeks to get a single product live. Or in the SEO world, that mobile friendly, right? The site speed, what does it look like when it pops up on the phone, checkout, all that kind of friction. That's been created from sites, that were built in like 2008, 2009. And the level of effort and investment that it takes to re-platform and to redesign and all that, it's huge, especially from e-com. And then add in all the privacy, how do they handle personal information, GDPR, the list gets longer and the investment gets deeper. So what I do think about when I think about all this is what Google created in 2015 with the buy button. And I know they didn't like calling it that back then, but that's what it was. It was a buy button. It was a mobile only product listing ads enhancement, as they called it. And it only appeared on, I think it was like less than 12% of searchers or something. It was very small.
I think they rolled it out for Droid only first, right?
Exactly. And it was only for certain customers or certain brands that had partnered with Google. And so it was very hard to catch a picture of it in the wild. And I even knew, 8 of the customers that were in the program, and I had a hard time getting a trip. And part of that had to do with the personalization aspect. So whether or not I had shown affinity for certain brands or behaviors or willingness to buy online, did I have a Google Wallet set up, all that kind of stuff. So, fast forward, that's 2015. Okay, here we are 4 to 5 years later. Now we've got Google Shopping. Well, all that information, all that research, all that gathering is now starting to come to a head. So now we have your loyalty program stored. We know whether or not you have an open card on something. Right. We know whether or not you're on your device, you're signing it, like all of it. And then that convenience, there it is, kicks right in. Here it is. And then they'll send you an email like, don't forget to check out. Here's your basket building is a huge thing with Google Shopping right now. If you, let's say, went in, you put in something in your cart and you didn't quite have enough for free shipping, but today is Cyber Monday and something has changed, like they dropped the free shipping threshold or something, they'll let you know. And there's that notification. 2 clicks later, you're done.
Absolutely. And then combine that with what the stat we just reported. 63% of people are looking at email as the driving motivator. Again, this is this intimate relationship you're having with your own market. So you have the personalization of the marketplace. You're not having to walk through aisles. The aisles are coming up to you and personalizing based on your need, based on your shopping behavior, and they're letting you know how things are changing to your betterment. So all this is, again, that frictionless environment that still exists in e-com on disparate websites, but it just is being removed like layers, right, in the marketplace. So let's talk about that, because we talk on the show a lot about SEO, SEM, social media marketing in the spaces. It's a huge play out there for the online retailer and they still actually fear to tread is the marketplace advertising. So tell us about marketplace advertising and the realm that we need to step into.
So mostly what we look at when we look at marketplace advertising, and it depends on, what platform you're talking about. Obviously, the big one, Amazon, huge growth year over year, double digits. I actually did the math. I think it was last year. Even if they continued at their current growth rate, cycle year after year, it would take them almost 10 years to catch up with Google to get to that 80 billion. So they're predicted right now, I believe it is like 3 billion. And that's something to keep in mind as far as like context goes. So a marketplace's advertising is not its primary function. The same way, like say Google, sure, they say they're search, but we all know it's an advertising platform with a search engine. But when it comes to Amazon, the primary driver of traffic and why people are there to buy things from the marketplace. So either independent sellers, third-party sellers, or through brands that have contracted with Amazon to do first party. First and foremost, that's why they exist. Right. Advertising is like 4th or 5th on the list of things that they do, which is why when it gets reported in the market, it doesn't get reported as a separate item, it gets lumped into other income. And technically speaking, 3 billion, and
That's a lot of other income right there.
I know, it's probably just in his couch, couch cushions, but it is something to keep in mind when you think about marketplace advertising. And so as a result, in comparison to Google or Facebook, when you think about some of the features or functionalities or capabilities or reliability in some cases, they're in a way behind. But I hate to use that word because it's not right to compare them that way. I would say if this was 2014 and when I first saw the Amazon advertising product, it was absolutely a ripoff of Google Ads 2010. I mean, it was literally like getting in a time machine. But it's come so far since then in terms of capabilities of types of targeting, ad types, the sophistication of the platform overall, reporting. Granted, there's always going to be what you call your complaint list, right, or your wish list. That's always, like, search marketers, that's all we do, I think, is like we're A-type personalities that make lists of things that we want or don't have yet.
Yeah, this would be great if.
Yeah, can I have the thing? Google, make me the thing. Like every year somebody puts out, a post with like 12 things on it that I don't have that I want, kind of thing. And you're like, yeah. But at the end of the day, I look at it and I go, for Amazon in particular, for advertising, the money goes in and a lot of it comes back out. So it has been the sponsored product ad unit by far has been the best performing, makes tons of sense. Amazon has picked up where they put those on the Amazon platform. I mean, the inventory is expanded as well. They are everywhere. I swear, I see a new screenshot every day of a new placement. And the one to watch in the next year is their expansion into programmatic. So Amazon's DSP. So that is the Amazon owned and operated, but they've also partnered with additional
networks.
What do you call them? Yeah, networks, index. So like Trade Desk, Index Exchange, that kind of stuff.
Right.
So they do have some inventory there. They have partnered to have, you would load into the Amazon console. Your creative can show up in other sites. Yeah, technically speaking, there is some overlap in terms of which exchanges are serving who. Haven't seen that yet. They've done a pretty good job of deduping, so you don't have, you don't go to like Business Insider and have four of your ads sitting there on the page, all served by a different index. But the power of the owned and operated Amazon DSP is amazing. Tenuity has a Q3 quarter. They have a Q3. We have a benchmark report that our director of research, Andy Taylor, did, and in it he does dive into our inventory on DSP and can give some pretty high level stats on what we're seeing as far as like owned and operated. Primarily, that's where a lot of the traffic is coming from, but it's also a lot of conversions. It is the conversion rate is outstanding.
And
I mean, Amazon.
And you're going to be exploiting the multi-touch conversion points as well, I'm assuming.
So they have, the nice thing with Amazon DSP is there's that closed loop piece, right? So the way we kind of look at it from a strategic standpoint is we think of it more in the marketing funnel. So we have a lot of folks that are just like, get ROI. And it's like, we all know that that's not a good way to look at programmatic, right? So trying to build that upper funnel awareness to drive down and then use other Amazon advertising capabilities like sponsored products to capture that last half. So we are working on the hard part right now is a lot of the customers or a lot of the companies they're not engineered, or they're not currently set up in a way to talk to each other in that way either, right? So if you have Amazon DSP, who manages it? Is it your Amazon team? Is it your programmatic team? Is it like, and so we have some brands that are still trying to figure out, well, how do we do that? Who owns that? Where does the money come from?
It's got to be a hybrid, doesn't it?
And it depends entirely on how you're set up. So if you're a mega legacy corporation, you've been around for 120 years, and you don't have, digital is new, or one of the things that I've noted is we have a couple customers that are very, very large, and one of the things that I've pointed out to my team as far as marketplace is, sure, Amazon 3 billion, but in a way we only represent less than 1% of their worldwide revenue. It's technically nothing, but it's technically something, right? So it's like lots of space to grow, but at the same time, that's why you may have a harder time getting the structure around proper alignment on what to do, on how to execute against it.
And things are,
you have to explain it.
You do, and things are moving so quickly that you explain something, and the game's going to change here. But that's great to be able to see that level of coverage, because that's going to make that conversion cut in half as well if you can actually bring them in on the awareness on the programmatic and then deliver your programmatic sponsored ad. Boy, that's a heck of a lot of savings right there, as opposed to first touch connection to that consumer, right?
And you can also do non-endemic. So on the OTT or over the top, the Amazon Fire, you can, let's say your Geico insurance company or something, you don't sell on Amazon, you can do that. Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing.
It's a real programmatic offering. And it's interesting because it's being, it's only a couple years old. So versus some of the older exchanges, which are working off of like an older stack, this is all new stuff.
Oh, all right. So we're going to pull back. This is the deep annals of marketing. Let's pull back over to how to prepare that retailer business, that online retailer, to go into the marketplace. You just had a recent article in November, The Rise of Advertising on E-commerce Marketplaces, 5 tips to get ahead. I certainly love the perspective of seeing how far Amazon's going, and we also know that there's also expediency. There's an exponential execution now that Walmart's going to execute based on the trail that's been blazed with Amazon. So we're going to see what Amazon did in 10 years done potentially in 3 to 4 years by Walmart, just because of the nature of the environment. But that real retailer still has to be ready to deliver, right? So what's the first thing? I mean, you do again reference the key concept that these marketplaces aren't in it to actually get your money, but literally for the revenue of the transaction, and that is a complete paradigm shift that the retailer needs to be prepared for. But what are the key factors that maybe a retailer, get that one out, should be ready for?
So a couple of things, depends on the retailer, but some of them aren't allowed on the marketplaces, so they're considered competition. So sometimes it's got to be a brand. So what I would say is, depending on the retailer and how they're set up, maybe they have an advertising option that they're doing themselves. But for brands in particular being ready, we just call it retail readiness. So what is your assortment? Where does it live? How fast? It comes down to, where is it? How fast can they get it? And how much is it? And so if you can answer those 3 questions consistently across your different platforms, then you're in good shape, because you're going to make sure that you're providing a consistent consumer experience more than anything else. And then, when it comes to some of the grittier details on that, so delivery, so that you're up against Amazon and that 2-day expectation, and some cases 1-day expectation that they've set, which is ridiculous. And I don't know if no one's going to beat that. It's insane, honestly.
Same day. Everything's going to be here the same bloody day.
Price is a big one. So as long as you're competitive, you don't have to be beating anything in particular. You just got to be close enough. And then assortment. So that's been a big one, is you don't want to sell necessarily the exact same assortment through every channel all of the time, right? So there's no real reason to buy one for another. Like, why are you on the platform? Is the one thing that I encourage folks to examine is, are you simply on 4 different platforms because you're just trying to be all of the places to where all the people are? Okay.
Right.
But they have to have a reason to buy from you from that platform, or you have to have a model that says you don't care, like which platform it is. In the end, you're going to have some sort of blended return that says, yeah, this worked, this netted out.
Got it.
Otherwise, how will you know what to do? That's why you'll see a lot more exclusives with like Target or Walmart even. So sometimes they even put it on the packaging.
Oh, wow.
And it makes total sense from a branding perspective. Otherwise, that brand has to, again, re-examine whether I actually saw a major brand in the last couple of years fail at selling on marketplaces. And there's no reason they should have, but their distribution network was so screwy, and they didn't know where the products were.
Right.
And then they couldn't connect them fast enough in order to get them to the buyer, that D2C just didn't make sense for them. And that may be it too, is being able to say as a seller, what you're actually capable of, both at the C level and in your warehouses.
Well, I guess the question is the consumer forgiving enough in that space, because they are getting trained by the big beast to be able to expect something at their door. In fact, I'm expecting it at my door today. But at the same time, I mean, we're not in the space that we were a decade ago. There's certain levels of acceptance. Don't we have a little bit of a pass there as these businesses get into the marketplace?
We do. I mean, brand, right?
Right.
There's a reason there's a reason that your brand exists, and hopefully you're sticking to it or following it and amplifying that.
Mm-hmm.
One company that I always think of that really sticks out to me is as a brand that I love, and I've seen even beat Amazon in consumer satisfaction surveys, is LL Bean. Look at when you think about them and you think about their brand history and their corporate history, why buy from them? Well, first of all, they don't sell on Amazon, but secondly, they give you a reason to buy from them, and their history of customer support and service above all else. I mean, they just recently had to pull back on their return at any time policy because people were taking things from thrift stores and trying to return them for full credit. Yeah, it's always somebody ruins it for everyone else. But the very first, the Bean Boot, the very first shoe that they ever sold, or the very first item, 90 out of the 100 pairs came apart. And so LL Bean himself took them back and fixed them and made it right. And if you go, this is so weird, Freeport, Maine, you have to really want it to go up there. No one just happens to cross through Maine. You gotta, there's intention that goes there. But their stores, this is crazy. Their store is open 24/7.
Huh.
You can go to an LL Bean, it's Freeport, Maine at 3 a.m. You just can. And it's just above all else. Customers, they're there for the customers.
That is amazing.
So that kind of that kind of strength in brand story,
yep.
that is what's going to make the difference between, again, that platform agnosticness, right?
Yeah, exactly. Jacob, you had some?
I said time for a road trip.
A road trip. Well, I mean, you mentioned in the retail readiness that it's not only about the structure and the products and how you actually move that, but also your response. How do you process returns, customer complaints, reviews, and how do you get the orders to the door? All that is that additional factor that can capitalize on the consumer acceptance of a delivery delay, as long as you're investing in that brand point, right?
Yep. I mean, there's been a couple of things I bought recently. I think of setting the expectation more than anything else, right? Mm-hmm. So if you buy something from Etsy, which is a marketplace,
sure,
you're buying from individual sellers. So is your expectation that they're going to get it to you in 1 to 2 days?
Hell no.
No, that's not reasonable. A lot of folks, some of them, yeah, sure, that's what they do for a living, and a lot of them it's not. So if you really want the thing, then you have to have a little patience. And so as long as that expectation and that understanding is built within that, whatever your community is there, then it makes a lot of folks are more patient, I think, than you think.
And that's also something to that point, is that each of these platforms have a niche, right?
Yeah.
So that Prime's going to get something to you, but you'll order a box of Tide from Amazon just so it's going to be there that very same day. But if you're looking for a quilt, right?
Yeah.
You're going to go to Etsy and you're going to wait possibly 3 weeks, and you'll be willing to do it because of that handmade craftsmanship. So there's a place for everybody, and there's literally a marketplace for everybody, and they all have kind of accepted patterns of transaction. You also mentioned in your article content and creative, taking advantage of the features and functionality that each platform has, unique to themselves as well as common. Can you open that up a little bit more?
Sure. So Amazon has done some cool things recently in terms of adding content capability. So you can add videos, there are additional images, you can product details, bullets, out like crazy, cultivate reviews, that kind of thing. So using either content that you have or creating content for the platform, I do recommend that in doing multiple marketplaces or multiple platforms that you do create unique content for those platforms. One of the bigger things more than anything else, I was actually talking to Adweek reporter a couple weeks ago, Lisa Lacey about this, which is what Google indexes. So from an SEO perspective, you could Google your brand name and find a page on Amazon, or a product page on Amazon for whatever that is. Could be on Target, could be your own website, could be Wikipedia. And so the question is, at what point are you competing with yourself, or which point are you harmonizing with yourself? So having that unique content obviously avoids what we all know in the SEO world is duplicate content. Like, why would you do that to yourself? It's not your own .com, but when you think about that top level domain authority
Yep.
of like an Amazon or a Target, why wouldn't you supply them with better information? And from as a manufacturer, say you're a brand, from a manufacturer standpoint, like Google Manufacturer Center, that exists to help, in a sense, to feel like correct the information that's on the web. We know that the knowledge panel pulls from 4 to 5 different sources at least.
Right.
We know Google shopping feeds. We know Google Manufacturer Center's in there. So why not give them the right information and have that, live correctly in the universe? Because you just don't know how it's going to get used or where it's going to get used next.
No, and you're talking about a digital brand asset management at that point in time. It's not just a transaction. It's making sure you've got continuity across all these platforms, that you own that top 10 with all of these different key points. And even go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say I had the honor of interviewing the senior director of content and production of Conagra Foods a couple of weeks ago at Brand Innovators. She has 100 brands. It's like, how do you keep track of all those? Huge content asset management, and it doesn't come easy. I mean, we're talking a 1.5 year long project through Salesforce, essentially, in order to make sure that each piece of content is tagged, where it got used, what it was for, and then their eventual hope is to close the loop and be able to attach performance across channels to that content.
And you could go so far as to actually manipulation of content based on those channels from the key optimization of those as well. So that's that next level. Once you grab a hold of it, then you have to be consistent and make sure that you've got good flow through on the funnels, but then you can actually really move the chess pieces on the board. That's
exactly. And she was doing it at scale. I was like, can you even name all 100 brands that you're in charge of? And she said, I cannot name all my children. No, I don't think it's a reasonable expectation of a human, but she certainly has built the infrastructure to enable it.
No, that's earth-shattering right there. Another key point in your article, you're talking about internal organization. So instead of just focusing on the structure of the platform, making sure that the product's there and can be delivered, you're pointing inward. Are those companies ready to be able to engage? So what's the internal organization focus all about?
So some companies are more ready than others to be on a marketplace or to be expanding into additional channels. I mean, it could be anything from administrative stuff like TaxNexus. So being on a marketplace, you do have to remit sales tax depending on, sometimes Amazon does it for you.
Right.
eBay, I believe, still does not. I know Google Express was a challenge that we came up with originally. So you have to keep track of tax laws, that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Who reports to who? How do you reward the individuals that are in charge of these channels? So I was literally talking to a brand about 3 months ago. It's not very literal then, but we were talking about, is your staff or the folks that are in charge of this stuff, how are they gold? What's their goal? What is their bonus based off of? And if it's only the box of social media and 2-to-1 return, well, then that's all they're going to focus on. So how do you get those groups talking to one another to break down the silos in which to even begin to understand the true holistic digital picture? And so that's kind of in the article what I was alluding to more than anything else was, if you just reward, what gets rewarded is what gets done. So if you want something different, you got to reward them different and structure and potentially even structure them different. Does your marketing team, digital marketing team, where does it sit versus your traditional marketing team? So that's one thing that we've been seeing in the industry a little bit is some of these D2C or brands that started as digital only moving into store spaces. So look at Purple Mattress. They now have stores. Look at Warby Parker. If you look in the New York subway now, and I actually took a whole bunch of pictures because I was there about 3 weeks ago, there is a company called Outfront Media that sells the subway ads. And now you're starting to see D2C brands that have originally only been digital, now advertising in the subway. Yeah,
they're finding their way to airports as well. So they got these small footprints of real estate, and they're capitalizing on the brand that they've created into all these new conventional or traditional display properties.
And then I ask you, who brokers that by? like the traditional buy? Like how do they, if they're truly digital company now, and they decide they want to go to traditional, how do they,
Yep.
how do you start that process? Who, maybe you decide, oh, we're just going to do a test, because you have a small 5-person digital marketing team. You're like, oh, we're just going to do a test. And then you look at the 5 people and you go, all right, so who's most qualified to test? So I never want to discourage that kind of thing, like the testing, but it is like in the article, what I was alluding to was like, is your org set up to execute on whatever it is, whether or not you need to be super agile and, you guys have just one big goal, or do you have like a huge legacy company infrastructure that, it's going to take you 5 years to get through?
Nope, and to finalize your story there, you're absolutely right. And the final points that you're talking about were literally, do you have the agility from the product standpoint as well? So you're really kind of going through the entire thing. Are you ready for the platform? Do you have the creative? Can you take advantage of the platform? Are you ready internally to incentivize the teams? And then ultimately, game on, and then you've got to actually work the game and work the pricing, work all the different factors to be competitive. Otherwise, you're out of the race entirely because the consumer is in their comfort zone. The competition is one click away, and they can do a double click very, very quickly to be able to see, oh, you're out of the race. Vote you off the island.
Exactly, a lot of I would say a lot of the legacy retailers took too long probably to get going on that. And there's some brands I think that wish that they had moved a little faster on adopting digital.
Right.
You think of like some of our more struggling retailers, like the Barnes & Noble, Macy's keeps trying to redo things, but the question is, like JCPenney, Kohl's partnered with Amazon to take returns.
Right. Oh yeah.
We know that it increased store traffic, like foot traffic, but not necessarily. I don't remember what it was saying about sales. It wasn't anything that stuck out in my mind and went, that was a great decision. It was more like, that's interesting.
Well, you certainly know if you go in there that the sales associates don't like that whatsoever. But they're also,
I'm sure.
but they're all giving like a 20% discount for that next purchase off of that Amazon. So Amazon return. So I mean, they're trying to capitalize the heck out of it. But sometimes things don't fit together. That may very well be one of those. So if everybody's ready for the race, right? Yeah, I mean, you're certainly a proponent for the marketplace advertising environment, and it's going to do nothing but growing. So what you gave in that article is really how to evaluate yourself before jumping in there. But it's some fine waters, isn't it?
Yeah. It is, and what's nice about the Amazon advertising piece more than anything else is the advancements that have come in the last few years in terms of capabilities, functionalities, and volume.
Yep.
So one thing I will say for the Amazon advertising is, boy, oh boy, is the volume there. So if you're a seller, you should be doing it.
Absolutely. So getting back to the digital marketer, what should that marketer be asking for from the sales team, from production? What kind of data can they use now as we are dealing with a holistic environment, from product manipulation all the way through the agile bidding process and price reductions? What can the advertiser actually benefit from?
So it's hard because when you think about, it's like one person in like a list of like 10 or 15 stakeholders when you think about the holistic picture. So really it has to come from the top in terms of organizational structure and or permissions. Because depending on the company, I have seen, folks, they hesitate because they don't want to step on toes. And so things that they could do, anything that they can pull around cross attribution. So if they have, like, say, Google Analytics and they're able to prove, multi-touch, obviously, you'd think I wouldn't have to say that now, and basically 2020. But yeah, last click is dead for the 17th. It's like, this is the year of mobile. Last click is dead. Like, let's get a bumper sticker. But like that kind of
like that
ability. So Amazon has now an attribution tool. It is a beta, but there are brands that can sign up for it so they can understand how much of their sales starts as a search on Google, say, or maybe a Facebook post, and then ends up converting on Amazon. So kind of thinking a little bit broader in terms of different tools that might help pull that information together. So like we're talking about with Salesforce and what Conagra does in terms of like asset management, ability to analyze that. It's funny, is one of the things I always recommend that folks laugh, but it's so true. Get an analytics intern.
Huh.
I'm serious. So there are so many kids that are doing data sciences and and I hate to say analytics because it's like saying cars, but they're doing all these different degrees in school right now, and internships are hard to come by. And when you get one, though, I mean, they really, really need it because they can then go get real jobs, and then they may come back and work for you, but for the right now, they are dying for that hands-on experience and real data management.
Absolutely.
And they are priced to move. So if you can get an that would be their number one thing, analytics intern, and then give them all your craziest theories that you want them to disprove or prove. I always just tell my interns, either make my dreams come true or shatter them so I can make a new dream.
Got to be able to attribute everything. You got to be able to tag and be able to mesh your campaign data with analytics. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, and they have the brain space, right?
Yeah.
So you have your day job also, and so if you're trying to make significant change or significant improvement, for the overall, because really it's a holistic thing. As a digital marketer, is what you're being asked to do. Then either you got to get somebody to do your day job, or you got to get somebody to start digging ditches.
Oh, there you go. Well, I think that's the best recommendation I've heard all bloody year is get yourself an analytics intern and test your hypothesis, right? Yeah. All right. Well, Elizabeth, it's always a pleasure. The hour rolled by here. I really do appreciate your time. It's fantastic what you're doing there. Please be that lightning rod of just information when it comes down to the marketing platforms. It should be. Retailers should be frothing at the mouth to be able to get in there on a regular basis. So we're going to break that fear down and compartmentalize it and get that education going. Hey, we always round up with a couple questions real quick. What bugs you about the industry that you're in right now? Because it sounds really cool.
What bugs me more than anything else is that assumption that everything can be replicated to the other thing and that the results will be the same. It's like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting the same result, like different results, right? So they're like, I'm going to do the same thing on Amazon that I do on Walmart, that I did on Google, that I did on Facebook, and it's going to work out the same, right? That's the thing that bugs me more than anything else when folks think like that.
All right. Well, that's that. Yeah, exactly. If and that just shows a lack of maturity of understanding the environment that you're advertising in.
I get it. They want it. They need it. They want it now. There's a need. There's like I got to get the thing. I'm getting pressured for this, and then you look at it and you go, but that's not. Those aren't the same things.
That audience doesn't mean what you think it means. All right. Conversely, what excites you about your industry right now? I think we already covered it this hour, but go ahead.
No, I'm super excited about retail. Mm-hmm. What's going to happen in retail in terms of advertising options? I think the retailers have a lot to offer in terms of first-party data.
Yep.
And I want to see them do something with it, but without giving away or sacrificing what they've already built. So in a lot of ways, they have, in terms of brand or assortment or like stores or whatever. But I feel like there's something sitting there. It's not going to be as big as Facebook or Amazon, but it's going to be. And it's going to make a dent still. Like no one ever says, no, I don't want 10% more. That's cool. You keep it. Like, right? Like yep. I feel this next year, I feel like there's going to be significant movement there.
Well, we're going to keep on growing on this on the retail side of things and the cyber seasons. I don't think we're going to be plateauing anytime soon. I'm sure you'd agree, maybe to a particular degree. She made a face, everybody.
No, it's less. I see Google starting to slow down just because there's only a finite amount of searches that people do. So unless a thing happens, which explains what they're doing now, Amazon, I want to say that eventually they should plateau, but I don't know. Like, at 50% is still only half, I guess, right?
No, eventually they're just going exactly. They're going to conquer it. They're literally going to pipe vents into or tunnels into each and every one of our homes, and then just deliver it that way. So they got drones, they got carrier pigeons, everything. All right. Hey,
are you talking like at the bank, like that?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm in.
Can you imagine that? Have it not in the same day, have it in the same hour?
I'm in.
Dude,
Oh, man.
I can have that in 10 minutes. All right. Well, you know what you can't have in 10 minutes is a 6-degree black belt in kendo, and we certainly want to reference that. You're awesome in that space. Tell us a little bit about kendo before we get off here.
So that's my random fact. So kendo is a Japanese martial art. It was built off of old samurai.
Yep.
So back in the feudal system, after they abolished the need for samurai, they had all these skills that they didn't want to lose, and they weren't supposed to, kill each other anymore. So it kind of evolved into kendo, which is Japanese swordsmanship or fencing. So I was on the U.S. team to the World Championships in 2000 and 2003. I was the captain for our regional team for a while, and now I am the first female head coach for our regional federation.
Oh, that's fantastic. I've always wanted to jump into kendo. I tell you what, the wife was actually scared of me going in there. we did taekwondo for 10 years, the family did, and I've always been eyeballing kendo because it was so damn cool.
You know what? You hit someone with a stick for like 2 hours.
Yep.
Your stress level's really low. You're good. You're good.
Hey, it's all good on the mat, right? Okay, well, we certainly appreciate your time today. We certainly want to recommend everybody jump into, you've got a webinar coming up the 12th of December, Walmart advertising, and you want to go over to Tunuity.com. We've got the URL. We'll throw it in the show notes as well, Tunuity.com/content/webinars/growing-Walmart-marketplace. That's a short URL.
It's a short URL, yeah.
You're also going to be at SMX West in February 2020 in San Jose. You're going to be leading the Amazon advertising workshop, the first one ever, and that's awesome. We hope to see you out there. We're talking a little bit, and hopefully we can actually get the show out there. That would be great. I think we're going to have a good time out there. So you're also a regular contributor in Search Engine Journal, so please go over there and check out what Elizabeth's writing about on a regular basis. Any final thoughts for that marketplace advertiser that's right there at the poolside?
No, just there's going to be some good webinars. Like I said, the one that's coming up on the 12th, there's some content that gets kind of smashed in at the end of the year for prep for 2020. And I know everybody's kind of tired, but if you still sign up, you can get the recording. You can watch it later.
Well, there you go. Absolutely. Jump in there, guys. Get in and make your plans for 2020's marketing, advertising in the marketplace, because it's going to be huge, even bigger than this year. So we wish you best of luck in Cyber Monday. It's still not over, so I'm sure you have some people to talk to. Thanks for spending your Cyber Monday hour with us. I really appreciate it. Want to make sure that we reference our bonus podcast that we had went through our news items on with Elizabeth, so you want to check that out if you hadn't heard it off this podcast. Also, we want to make sure that you track Elizabeth down on her Twitter, EB Kendo, which is pretty cool. And she's also on LinkedIn. You can just find her ElizabethMarsten.com. Elizabeth Marsten. You should actually register that. You probably registered that name already, haven't you?
No, somebody's going to go get it now. Thanks. I keep meaning to, and then I just don't.
I'll tell you what, I went through and registered all the kids' names as soon as they were born.
I've heard one other person do that. He said he did it in the hallway after I think the baby was maybe 2 months, 2 hours old. Should probably do that, especially with Magnus, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
He's going to need that someday.
Yeah, absolutely. He will wield it like a kendo blade. All right. Thanks so much for your time today. I really do appreciate it, and good luck in your career.
Thank you so much for having me.
More than welcome. More than welcome. Well, don't forget to like and subscribe to Edge of the Web Radio on YouTube so you can be alerted whenever we go live as well. Hey, if you're feeling like it today, I think we had a really good show with Elizabeth. Drop over and give us a quick review over on iTunes. We would appreciate it greatly. Check out all the must-see videos over at edgeofthewebradio.com, as well as show notes, the news items, and transcripts. EdgeOfTheWebRadio.com. We'll talk to you next week. We're going to be talking to Talia Wolf. So check in. I think we're actually going a little bit earlier. So watch that. I think we're going at noon or noon on next Monday the 9th. So, all right. Don't be a piece of cyber driftwood. We'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.